Chapter 4: The Science of Garbage. I just work the stretch from Bridgetown to Brixton, enough of a distance that I get to see some of everything. Not literally see, since most of my job does happen in the dead of night, but even in the dark, dealing with the garbage the world leaves behind, I become a scientist, an analyst of human behavior. There ain't much I don't glean from trash, but I doubt you know how much you say to me with what you throw away. My day does start when the teleclassifieds begin at 2 o'clock in the morning. Lucky for me, my bedroom at the back by the kitchen, so I could get ready without waking my mother. The soft, bluish glow from the TV is the only light in the house as I pad down the tiny corridor, my feet sticking to the Congolium and making a sound like suction cups as I walk. My old lady leaves porridge on the table in a red and black thermos flask that looks like it made from one of those Scottish men kilts. Mumsy was keeping my drinks in that since I was born, and as I get older, I realize how special it is to have something so constant in my life. Yeah, the flask old-fashioned, and no amount of baking soda and vinegar my mother rub on the inside can't get off them yellow stains. But I don't believe in throwing away things just because them age a little. Them stains add character. I fill my enamel cup and drink my oats as I stand by the kitchen sink. I ain't no big breakfast man, so oats does do me just fine. After that, I feed Dipper, pat he big slobbery head, bathe and dress in the yard, and go through the paling just in time to see Cephas coming up the gap in the Datsun 120Y. And all of this does happen before the roosters could even cock open them 2 eyes. Cephas is my man, even though we differ in a lot of ways. We weren't business with books when we were at school, but we ain't block boys rolling blunts under street lights and calling ourselves soldiers for no drug lord neither. That is a bunch of shite. Block boys get paid with spliffs to do dirty work for rich white men who live in the heights and terraces. Block boys' wages literally go up in smoke because a white man would tell them to take a little kilo for themselves and hand them a bottle of brandy to drink. But block boys never got money to give them child mothers or help pay a bill in the family house. Jackasses. Me and Cephas went to the constituency office straight out of school to ask for work. Them sent we down to sanitation, and we was there since then. We live in the Oaks, and every morning by 3 o'clock, we just roll through like secret agents, driving slow with the headlights on dim, so nobody don't think we is the police and start shooting at we. Big orange street lamps does light the way through the development, like huge fireflies shining their asses on the sidewalk. By the time we pull onto the highway, only a few cars are on the road, so Cephas could open up the 120 and give the gas station limers some handbrake action. One time, Cephas gave them a little too much action, cut the corner real neat, and knock off the muffler. We were shamed when we went back for it, but the fellows by the gas station didn't give we too much heat. It's Tuesday morning though, so not a boy at the gas station. Even limers got enough respect for the system to make sure they get to work on time every morning. By the time we park in sanitation's yard, our driver, Barry, is already there, so we move out the same time. Drivers are the supervisors, and from the time we started working at sanitation, Barry said, "Sooner we leave, the sooner we back home drawing up on the neat we women. Them fellas picking up garbage in the hot sun gonna be too tired to sex them girls when they get back. But I old, so I gotta conserve the little energy I got." Me and Cephas looked at one another and laughed, telling ourselves that he just saying so to motivate we. Till the day we see this sweet light-skinned girl come to collect Barry, and then we understood why we is always the first to leave the yard. All 3 of us sit up front in the cab when we leave the yard. No need to high off the back like sloths until we get to the start of our route. Plus, it's more fun to listen to Barry talk on the way down the road. Barry was collecting garbage for over 40 years, so he see a lot and always got a war story to tell. This morning, he talks about the time an outside man was running from his woman's husband and escaped on the garbage truck. Barry said the man hopped over a paling, fly over the sidewalk, and grab onto the rails next to Barry in nothing but he bare boxers. Barry is in fits and can barely talk with all the tears running down his rummy cheeks. If you see all the garbage juice splashing up on the man's chest. Thing is, we just collected all the nasty chicken innards and the old oil from the fry shop, and the man boxers was in a state. I telling you he never wear them again. Man, we laugh at that until we reach Bridgetown. The decorative lanterns that line the empty streets start to flicker and go off as the auto timers kick in. At the top of Broad Street, right in front of the old Mutual building, me and Cephas get out to start collecting. We uncovered the fancy bins the government set up alongside the road, plastered with big signs telling we to stop littering because garbage does run away the tourists. Before that, I have to sweep the gutters, gathering up souvenir wrappers and pencils with hand-stitched dolls at the end where an eraser should be. The dolls look like Mother Sally's in traditional dress, dark skin mimicked by brown fabric and black yarn that's meant to be hair. I bet you no locals ain't leave those things there. That is tourist trash, plain and simple. I read once that tourism does contribute some double-digit percentage of pollution to the island. I see British and American people on the beach throwing cigarette butts in the water and leaving bottles on the sand. All those ads on TV telling Bajans that tourism is our business, let's play our part. But I never once see one telling tourists to play theirs. Inside those bins is mostly run-of-the-mill garbage, soda bottles, Kiss-Kate wrappers and that kind of thing. I does hardly see apple cores or banana peels in there. Definitely no leftover celery stalks. Probably why the diabetes rate so high and the island is the amputation capital of the world. Maybe the government should put posters on the bins with 1-foot people looking miserable in wheelchairs instead of smiling Bajans giving directions to tourists. The good thing about working with Cephas is that we don't do a lot of talking at work, so we get through quick. I handle the left side of the road, Cephas does the right, and we go like that until the sun starts to peek over the Constitution River, leaving a long strip of light on the water that shines so pretty you'd think gold was beneath the surface. The river marks the end of the commercial garbage we collect. Before long, Barry turns right and drives us out of town. The roads on the outskirts of town are the worst. It took time to get used to the junction at first, the way the truck jiggling up and down on the uneven parts. But after a while, you learn the rhythm of the roads, the coordinates of each pothole and raised sewer grate, and your body starts to sway even before you get there. Soon, riding the back of the truck is like floating on a cloud. Only a man with a limber body could make hanging off the back of a rubbish truck look so graceful, and I full of grace. As we round the corner by the traffic lights, another smell starts to mix in with the garbage that would make you vomit if you don't stick a menthol inhaler up your nose. Don't get me wrong, we carrying rotting food and a cat somebody knocked down earlier, and it ain't smell good. But that stench tells me we're about to go through the barracks, a low-income tenantry area out by the sewage plant. I hate the phrase low income. Governments use that word to make it seem like these people make just a little less than everyone else. But the truth is that these people are straight up poor. They hoarded shopping bags by the dozens right before the plastic ban because they can't afford to buy no big black trash bags to put their garbage in. So that means collections out here take longer since you got 1,000 little small bags to pick up. Small bags that are thrown onto a pile as big as me and ravaged by cats and dogs every night. The sun has come up enough to let me see rats running like ants all over the garbage piled up on the corner. Me and Cephas kicked them away and grabbed the bags by the 2s and 3s so we could finish fast. Every bag rings with a metallic clink. Empty cans from corned beef, luncheon meat, and sardines banging together like church cymbals at harvest. Sometimes you see drink crystal packets slip through the knots and fall into the road, the inside of the foil pack stained bright red or purple. Enough salt and sugar are the norms in places like these. In a few months' time, this same corner gonna be full of all kinds of trash. And I mean all kinds. Old chairs, ripped up mattresses, big screen TV boxes, old fridges. All stuff that they'll want us to take away in one day. Otherwise, they get hot and sweaty and start cussing on the call-in programs about how the government doesn't care about poor people. Cephas, how you, sweetie? That is Darlene, a girl with the hots for Cephas sent school. Every Tuesday when we come out this side, she sashays through the alley in a flimsy nightgown, nipples printing out and staring at we like two arrows. I suspect she squeezes them right before she walks through the door. Same way she does take off the panty, so we could see she ass cheeks clapping underneath that see-through polyester when she suddenly got to run back inside. My good Darlene, you going to the reunion next week? She arched she back a little bit, just in case Cephas can't see her headlights on high beam, and cools, only if you carrying me? Cephas start to chuckle like a fool. He eyes glue on to Darlene's chest and say, Man, I gonna see what happen. Darlene stoops. You always saying so. Go along with you buck teeth woman. I ain't got time for you. I hear Barry laughing as the compactor starts to crush everything we tossed in, flicking bits of refuse and pressing gallons of smelly garbage water onto the road, adding another coat to the old stains which nobody seems to wash down after we leave. Cephas ain't respond, but I know him long enough to know that Darlene's words gonna bother him. A little further up the gap, we stop in front of a small rum shop, and we just about to roll the heavy metal cans towards the truck when two men step out of the shadows and put guns to our heads. Out of the corners of my eyes, I see more men lurking, their hands clutching machetes that look lethal, even from this distance because of how the early morning light glints on the sharpened blades. Now you might think this frightens Cephas and me, but the time for frighten long gone. We say morning, unpack some of the garbage on top, and leave enough to cover the tightly wrapped black bundles that sit on the bottom of each can. We put them back where they come from, big round spots of flattened mud surrounded by a whole bunch of overgrown grass. The first time these men jumped I almost pissed myself because I ain't had enough money to stop a robber from killing me out of frustration. Since then, I make sure I walk with a little $50 and an old gold chain in my pocket for the thieves. But these men ain't interested in robbing we. Them just safeguarding them stash in case we get greedy. And the garbage is as good a place as any to hide drugs when police raid the neighborhood. Once the can's back in place, the guns are lowered and the men sit back down on overturned milk crates, nod and say, yeah, brother, as though putting gun nozzles to our head is the same as a handshake. We hop onto the truck and roll out. In a sick way, feeling that little buzz on mornings does pump me up and make me feel like my job exciting. But ain't no way I could ever tell my old lady about this. Mumsy cool and all, but she would come down here and slice up these men fine for doing this shite. For my one part, I say a little drama does keep a man on his toes and help he stay calm under pressure. But I ain't telling my mother. That is a little bit too much pressure. We turn onto the highway, one of the best roads on the island. It's so smooth that even when Barry changes the gears, the ride is slicker than okras and cornmeal cuckoo, cause the truck don't stutter and rattle the way it does on bumpy roads. We pass the big open stretch of beach where early sea bathers taking them time to warm up to that cold-ass water. Every morning, I watch them cup their hands together and splash salt water on their skin, trying to trick their bodies and lessen the icy shock of an ocean bathed in moonlight overnight. The salt air blows across the sand and right past us, carrying away the decaying reek of unwanted and expired things that follow us for most of our day. The 5 minutes we spend going up the highway is the part I love best. That sweet sea breeze does make me feel like I is a man, hanging on to the mizzenmast of my own yacht as I cruise up the Riviera with my wife and children, instead of gripping garbage-stained handrails next to Cephas. My imaginary family would laugh as the wind whips our hair while we plan our next vacation, as though the money and time for these things will always be there. The gears crunch and the truck slows down. When we turn on to Brixton, it is a whole different vibe, and all three of us know it. To show you what I mean, one time, a black trash bag opened up, and the land tax bill fell out. Cephas's mouth hang open like a trapdoor when he come and show me this thing. My eyes get wide, and I say, Cephas, that can't be right. This body paying more land tax than we just make in a whole year. We looked up at the house then, a pale yellow mansion with a 3-car garage and a massive balcony just steps away from the white sand beach behind it. Cephas was quiet for the rest of that day, mostly because I think he couldn't wrap his mind around a man paying so much for the privilege to live in a place. Because that's all land tax is, the cost of privilege. Land tax don't put food in a fridge, nor gas in the tank, nor medicine in the cupboard. Cephas struggles with these things more than me. He can't understand a world where he wants a Benz but can't afford it. He don't see that we just get good pay and the whole day to ourselves. We ain't got bosses who shouting at we to meet quotas and deadlines. We set we own hours and live freer than most. We don't spend half our pay at the gym because lifting those heavy cans just got we arms and back on fleek. Still, none of this stops Cephas from griping and living above his means. He never got money because at 120 white does drink gas and always breaking down. Whenever we get to places like Brixton, he does get bitter, sifting through the people's garbage and complaining about it. Not a single plastic bottle. You imagine people so rich they got time to sort garbage? He stoops says as he throws in a single small bag. The homeowners in this area operate different. They eat organic food and recycle and compost. Well, maybe not they themselves. These people got staff to do these things, and the only time we see the homeowners is when they wave at we before they check them smartwatches and go jogging on the beach. It is the maids and gardeners, people who look just like us, who come outside with these small bags with barely any garbage that never seems to smell. To be honest, it is from collecting these people rubbish that made me switch up how me and Mumsy does eat. I realize these people always look fresh like Jew daisies, or like the people out by the sewage plant whose skin always look dusty and dull. Outside of the obvious differences in air quality that come from living next to a sewage plant versus living next to the sea, I tell myself it had something to do with food. So my mother stopped buying all of that canned stuff, and we just eat more veggies, oats, and sago. You know, old-time thing. Since then, Mumsy arthritis improved, and I sleeping better at night. When we get to the end of the road, I spot a little bicycle with streamers that flutter in the wind on top of a metal garbage bin. Barry and Cephas laugh because I collect these things, but I don't care. I put it up front in the cab and go back to hauling the trash. By the time we finish Brixton, it ain't no more than 8 o'clock. We climb back in the cab, and Barry says, "Perfect timing today. We going to get to the dump before everybody and be home before office workers drink their first cup of coffee." Long lines of cars snake down to town as everyone tries to get to work on time, but the traffic won't let them be great. We going away from town towards the dump in the middle of the island, so the road clear. When we get there, me and Barry empty the rear loader while Cephas wipes down the truck. No point in driving a vehicle that always smells sour. As predicted, on the way home, Cephas leans back in the driver's seat, drinking a beer and wonders how to get away from he woman to carry Darlene to the reunion. All I could do is shake my head. When we get to my house, I say I'll see him in the morning and to have a good night. Knowing Cephas, he going to sleep all day, party until it's time for work, rinse and repeat that pattern every day for the rest of his life. The house is empty when I step inside. I bathe again, then tidy up the kitchen and pack my cart to go to the corner. Barry and Cephas think I is some crazy garbage hoarder like Sanford, but I got my good sense. If I don't find something good on the route, I wait until we offload and peep around for treasures at the dump. The little pink bicycle from Brixton has purple streamers and a white basket. The chain is off and one of the fenders is dented, but those are easy fixes. That's what I do. I repair fans, umbrellas, and all kind of things that people think are no good. Most months, I make twice my sanitation wages selling these things back to the same kind of people who threw them out in the first place. It makes me laugh to watch them marvel at the deals they get. Half of what they'd pay at the big stores in town. I laugh because I found them at the side of the road for nothing. I rummaged through the dump for the parts to fix them and then sell them from a shed on the street corner that I don't have to pay rent for. Since last year, I had enough money to open a shop, but Mumsy said not to waste that money. We decided to get a little house in the country instead, so we could plant some kitchen garden and that kind of thing. We move in next month. I ain't on the corner long before a woman pulls up in a fancy Mercedes to look at the same pink bicycle I just finished fixing. She is walking perfection. Nice complexion, tailored outfit, painted nails, not a hair out of place. I watch her touching the bicycle I pulled from the garbage, knowing full well that she would never stop on the side of the road and pick it up herself, even though she wants to keep as much money as possible in her pocket to maintain her image. I learned a long time ago that rich people like to save money more than anybody else, which makes sense. They can't brag about it if they spend all. She will go away feeling like she has empowered a young man who's down on his luck with her one-off sale. I like that kind of thinking because it benefits me more than it benefits her. She plays with the streamers on the handle and rings the little bell before she smiles and asks how much. $2.50, I tell she. She's so happy she pull out the 3 bills and hand me right there and then. I pocket the money, knowing that not many people make that much in 60 minutes. I put the bicycle in the car trunk and off she goes. As I push my cart home, I chuckle at the irony of life. People quick to throw out things and say them broken, but only men like me who look past the garbage can see the glory.